Good afternoon, I'm Missy Dunlop and this is The Noon Show. Before I attempt to make you laugh, which will probably rather be a brief chuckle and sigh, our first matter of business is to introduce our in-house DJ, the one and only DJ Zachman. DJ Zach, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good today. We're here at St. John's University. You know, we're just hanging out. We got Missy, we got everybody here in the studio, we got a great crew. Let's make it happen today. Yeah!
Well, I am so happy to have you here today with us. There has been so much happening around the world in this past week. I don't know if anyone is as excited as I am, but the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, better known as Prince Harry and Meghan, are expecting their first child. Well, that didn't take too long. The baby is going to be 7th in line for the throne, but the odds of them actually leading the UK is very slight, as their cousin Prince George will likely be the future king after his father, Prince William. You know what they say, first is the worst, 7th is the best. I have to admit I am wildly jealous of Duchess Meghan. Being a young girl in the early 2000s, we all have aspired to have our own Princess Diaries fantasy come to life, and luckily enough for one American, it came true. Zach, do we have any baby prediction names for the soon-to-be royal?
Well, I would think that they would want to have a lot of the baby names have to do with, like, you know, their newest addition to the royal family, Meghan Markle. So I was thinking they could just start naming the babies after failed USA and TNT dramas. So the first baby's going to be Suits. Then we got Royal Pains. Then we got Dexter, because they couldn't get the rights to that. Then we got SVU, CI, and then we got LA and Miami for all the Law and Orders that they couldn't make work either. So it's got a lot of babies. Got to get at least a dozen.
I highly bet that they are going to take Zach's name suggestions into consideration. So we'll definitely let Meghan and Harry know about those. In other happy couple news, Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson reportedly broke up. Shocker. In all seriousness, I am a little sad about this one. Did I think the marriage was going to last if the engagement actually followed through? All signs were pointing to no, but if anything, this breakup has greatly affected my listening of Ariana's new album, Sweetener, which in my opinion is one of the greatest pop albums to date in the 2010s. However, when that 1 minute and 6 second interlude entitled No Other Than Pete Davidson hits, you better believe I'm either clicking the next song in my playlist or the tissues are coming out in full force. In even sadder news, the Mets season is over. Well, it was over for my team in July, so when the halting stop came in late September, there were no big surprises. But so is the Yankees. Admittingly, watching Boston celebrate a victory over the Bronx Bombers warmed my heart just a tad, because let's be honest, hating the Yankees can be kind of fun for someone who roots for a maybe 500 team each and every year. I could deep dive analysis into my postseason thoughts, but I'd rather you not turn off this programming and never return to our YouTube channel ever again. Rather, let's discuss the new plague hitting New York, Eli Manning's fading career. The New York Giants season has already had a controversial beginning, and I'm not just talking about the plays on the field, but rather the trash that has been coming out of OBJ's mouth. For those who don't know, Beckham Jr. has been in much media speculation regarding his disappointment in his team, including his quarterback. Is he right about Manning? Probably. Should he be saying such things about his team's leader? Probably not. Although Eli has been showing flaws throughout the last few games of the season, no one can take away his former star power and the impacts that he's had on the Giants organization. Management and coaching staff will make the right decisions eventually regarding Manning's spot at quarterback. But for now, let him play. He's Eli Manning. As for OBJ, more playing, less talking. Zach, is Manning still the top quarterback in New York, or is Sam Darnold taking the hot spot?
Well, you know, I think that the big race in New York is always who could throw the most interceptions at the end of the year. I mean, both teams have been, it's like a tornado. It's like we have to deal with Sandy every single fall, except it lasts 17 weeks and we have to pay to go. It's ridiculous. I mean, for real, you know, Eli's still the king, you know, especially because we never get to learn about a Jets quarterback for longer than 14 or 15 games at a time. So it's not hard to lose the top spot anyway. And, you know, I have a soft spot for anybody who has a similar dad bod to me. So, yeah, I'm an Eli guy. Sure,
Eli?
Why not? Mm-hmm.
I got to say, I stick by Manning too, but I think Darnold is really going to be something special for that Jets organization. They need that.
I hope so.
Yeah, I know. I hope so too. Trust me. Well, switching gears, Halloween is right around the corner, and I am hoping for a night full of treats and no tricks, because let's be real, 2018 has played us hard. I love Halloween. It really is a fun holiday. However, my favorite part, November 1st. Christmas season is approaching. We've got a great show for you today. Dr. David Hedlund is here to talk some St. John's esports with me, so stay tuned. Thank you for those great tunes, DJ Zachman. All right, everyone, I am pleased to welcome our very special guest, Dr. David Hedlund. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Thanks so much, Missy. Happy to be here.
Very happy you're here too. So I'm a newcomer to this whole emerging world of esports that's happening at our St. John's campus. So I do have a lot of questions for you.
Happy to answer.
You ready? Alrighty, so first off, for those that don't know, what are esports?
Esports are competitions while people are playing video games. So perhaps many of us, when we were young children or younger in years, we were playing games in our basement, you know, Nintendo, some of these things by ourselves. Now, due to the internet and other connectivity technologies, we're able to actually play these games with each other. We know, you know, at one point maybe we could have had two people playing at the same console, but now we can actually do this via the internet. So you can have people from the United States, from Europe, from Asia, all over the world, all playing the same game at the same point in time. So that's a quick summary of esports.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So why esports exactly? Why is this coming to the St. John's campus, and how is it different than a regular sports team that we'd have here?
Perhaps one reason is the excitement that a lot of students feel towards these games. You know, when we are talking to students and watching them and just walking around campus, we see so many students with their heads down, maybe on their phones. Now, a few years back, this was probably they're on a messaging app or doing something on their phones, but now many of them are playing games. So, you know, in some of what we're looking at, they're playing games because it's fun, they need to pass some time. You know, maybe, you know, right now it's kind of the end of midterms, but maybe they've been going through all of these exams. So a lot of people have gotten really interested in these games, and there have been a lot of things that have happened over the last few years with really bringing these esports to light. And so now we're to the point where many people are playing these games, and so it seems like a natural segue. We've been a sports university, been very well known for being a Big East institution, and so, you know, now it's kind of a natural segue into esports.
No, it's excellent. It's something fascinating that's happening on this campus for sure. And when did you decide that esports was something worth studying? Because I know that there's a lot of numbers out there that show the statistics and the money that's being generated. So how did this come about?
If I may, so I first started playing games probably in the 1980s. You know, and then through college, and then when I was overseas, had a lot of opportunities to play games. Went to Japan for a few years. The Dance Revolution, where you're jumping and playing and all of these kind of things. And so, you know, I've seen for most of my life the excitement, the fun, the entertainment that these games have brought to people. And then now watching a lot of people playing these games, and you know how thrilled it makes them, and you know how happy they are to have these opportunities. You know, it just seems like it's been a good time. And then what we've seen in the industry, to your question, you know, in the last 3 or 4 years, there's been, you know, maybe $1.5 billion invested in this. Just in the first quarter of 2018, more than $2 billion invested in startups, in teams and foundations that are all working to promote more esports. So, you know, if we're looking at this from a business kind of perspective, you know, it's been growing, and now it's just an exponential growth, and we have no idea where this is going to stop. So, you know, we're kind of getting into this at a good period of time.
Definitely, definitely. So can you tell us a little bit about the specific league that St. John's will actually be in for their esports league?
Yeah, I mean, fortuitous timing that I'm here on today's Friday afternoon. This morning, the Big East, in coordination with our partner ESL, made an official announcement that this weekend, or the month of October, we are starting to play in a Rocket League competition. Rocket League is, for those who might not be familiar with it, it's kind of soccer played in cars in a kind of 3D area where you can drive on the walls and the ceilings and jump and flip and do things like this. So we're going to be beginning this weekend with a team that's gone through a tryout process, and then they've been practicing just like any other intercollegiate team, getting ready, getting prepared, and so they're going to begin competing on behalf of St. John's University this weekend in the Big East Rocket League Winter Championships.
Has a nice ring to it, for sure. It really does.
It does. I mean, for me personally, I can't say that I ever would have thought that, you know, I would be a part of doing something with video games or esports. I thought my coaching career was over, you know, but now the opportunity to get involved with this and to be a part of the passion and seeing, you know, students, you know, when I handed them their jerseys, they were, I mean, just absolutely thrilled. You know, I'm honored to represent St. John's University. I mean, just really touching moments. So happy to be a part of this.
Definitely great. So speaking on like the technical side of this, because when I think of a video game, I think of your PS2 console or whatever, but what type of equipment are you specifically working with for Rocket League and esports in general? I
don't know how many students at St. John's have had the opportunity to see it, but on the second floor here of Malick Hall, over the summer, the IT networking division, they put in this kind of future technologies lab. This is known as the Technology Commons. So I know some students have walked by, maybe even poked their head in. When you take a look in there, there's some Mac computers that can do animation and design. There's 3D printers.
Wow.
There's some private areas which are for VR, so virtual reality. And then there are 12 Dell, Alienware, Aurora, top of the line monitors, top of the line peripherals, each one with a 1 gigabyte connection into our network, all optimized for playing esports and video games.
That's really
so
impressive.
For anyone who hasn't been and seen this new lab, that's the space that we're going to be using. But the great thing about this lab is, you know, as a university, we want to open this up to as many people as possible. So while we have our intercollegiate team that's playing and practicing in the lab, it's very easy for any student to use their student ID and go and reserve an hour block of time.
That's great.
Go in there with a couple of their friends, you know, play games together, engage in some of these activities. So yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time where, yes, we have these competitions, but we also have this opportunity for anyone to go in there and play as well, or even just go in and watch.
I know, we might have to have a WRED-TV field trip down there and get playing on some of those machines.
I think that'd be great.
So how is the future of these teams going to be funded and supported throughout St. John's?
That is a fantastic question. Probably every university right now is asking that exact same question. So we were fortunate enough that the IT and networking group, they were able to put together the funds to build the lab. The rest of us who are all kind of working with us right now, we're all volunteers. So
Wow.
I get paid nothing to, you know, help direct the teams and some of these things. There are several different ways. I mean, when you look at how it's done at other universities, there are a few of them that have found ways to put it in the athletics department. As soon as you put it in athletics, though, there are some things you've got to be careful of. Making sure that you're funding men's and women's sports equally. Probably, though, the bigger concern is, you know, trying to figure out, I've totally lost my train of thought. Anyways, so the athletics department is one place where it's often put. Another place is club sports.
Okay.
And in club sports, you know, we have our cheerleading team, we have our men's track team. We have some of these different kinds of areas as well where it could be put. So right now, we're trying to figure this out just like everyone else. You know, but hopefully moving forward, we'll be able to continue to find ways to keep this funded, you know, and continue to compete in Big East competitions and beyond.
Yeah, and the way that esports is growing, we really hope that St. John's will keep going up just like the whole industry is.
Absolutely.
For sure. So what do you envision for the future of esports on our campus or even countrywide?
So currently, you know, we are probably 6 weeks into really starting to promote and gather people together, and we already have more than 300, we're probably 350, maybe even 400 at this point in terms of students who've expressed interest in connecting with others who also play many of these games. Probably right now there are about 25 or 30 pretty popular games. Rocket League, League of Legends, Defense of the Ancients, Dota 2, other games like this. So certainly I think moving forward it would be great if we saw, you know, teams for many of these games. Right now we have Rocket League. We're hoping we're going to be able to expand that. But at the very least, I think one of the best things about this is, you know, we really don't need an intercollegiate team. We're already connecting students together so that they can play. So on a Friday night, You know, hey, anyone available to play this game or that game? You know, hey, let's get a team of 3 together, or a team of 4, something like this. So connecting them together so they can play these games. You know, right now I think that's one of the best benefits that we're able to kind of give back to the community.
Yeah, definitely, and I can totally tell the team aspect of how important that is, bringing people together with esports, and it seems super important to the dynamic of the league itself.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So speaking of our team personally, how many people are right now on the St. John's team, and how did you decide?
Yep, so first we've done a student interest survey to try to gauge interest in terms of how many people are interested in all of these different games. So that's been how we've identified most of our members to date. Once we got that far, we started looking into, okay, you know, if there are hundreds of people who want to play these games, kind of what's at least the most feasible and fair way to do this? So trying to identify people who had strong backgrounds in the game, who had a lot of experience playing the game. From that point, we invited all of these people, men and women, all to come to tryouts. So we held tryouts a couple of weeks back. And then from that, we kind of looked at, okay, you know, how many are we allowed to have in the Rocket League? And then, you know, having some student managers and some of these types of individuals. So currently, we're allowed to have 5 players each week. So we have 5 players on the team. We also have what I would call 3 practice squad players, because things happen, people are sick, people have weekend commitments. One of our players is a top Tekken player, so he has a tournament this weekend and can't participate, so you know, do some substitutions there. And then we have 2 student managers. So right now the team is 8 players, 2 student managers, myself, and then several other administrators. So I think one of the things St. John's is probably most proud of is many groups kind of operate in silos, while here we have networking and IT, we have athletics, campus recreation, a whole bunch of people who are all sitting at the table talking about how do we make this work, how do we make this sustainable, how do we keep this going into the future. So, you know, it's a really great thing when everyone is sitting in there at the table and we've got support going all the way up the hierarchy of St. John's.
That's excellent. That's so great. So I know you mentioned that the team is competing very, very soon. So how have they been preparing?
Yeah, so people who just happened to walk in, Monday and Thursday we were in there practicing. So the great thing about Rocket League, the game that we will begin competitions this weekend, it's 3v3. So it's pretty easy to set up kind of a little mini gameplay. And then if we have 3 players who can play against them, or they can go out on the internet and find 3 players to play. So, you know, our student managers, Luke and Kwesi, who are both seniors, they've done a fantastic job of organizing practices, getting the players together, getting them, you know, trying, okay, what about this combination of 3? What about this combination? You know, working with them. Many of these players, you know, they are some of the most advanced Rocket League players that I've ever seen.
Wow.
So there's not a lot we can do with them in terms of technique, but just the opportunity for them to play together, to get to know, how do you play, how do you play? Are you more of an attacking player? Are you more of a defensive player? Are you good in the air? So we have some players on our team who are better at certain areas. And again, as we go into some of these competitions, you know, we'll be playing around with some of these things. You know, maybe we want to play a more defensive match, or maybe we want to play more aggressively. So, you know, we'll kind of take that as the competitions move forward. But it's fantastic what we've been able to assemble so far.
Yeah, no, it's so fascinating what you were saying about like the defensive, like the different ways of really just forming a game plan on a virtual game. It's something.
In some of the conferences and activities that I've done to kind of familiarize myself with as many of these games, you know, one thing that so many people have kind of echoed, you know, for people who don't know about esports and are thinking this is crazy, people are competing in video games, that it very much is the same thing as sports. It's just you're doing on a video game, you're doing it through the internet, things of this sort. Otherwise, many of the things we're thinking about, the terminology, the techniques, are very similar. In addition, many of these games, they also have almost like a military operation. I think probably many of us are familiar with movies or television shows where, you know, a SEAL Team 6 or something like this, they've got headsets on and they're talking to one another, hey, you do this, you do this. That's the other component to this.
Wow, yeah.
And one of the things I think a lot of people may not fully understand is just how the communication is working. That, yeah, okay, we see in this case, there's cars going around on the field and, hitting the ball, trying to get a goal. But those players, they're talking about, okay, I'm going to go do this, you go to this position. So imagine if we're playing a traditional game of soccer, all wearing headsets, and I could tell my players, hey, I'm going to go kick the ball over here, someone go get it. Something like this. So, in fact, I think what we're seeing with a lot of these is there's a lot of skills that these students and those players are learning and using. So it's really cool to kind of see all of this put together where they're playing the game, but at the same time, they're strategizing at the same point in time. I'm going to do this, you're going to do this, and then as our players play together and figure out, here's what I do, here's what you do. Okay, I see what you're doing. I'm going to go back on defense. I'm going to, just in case our attack doesn't work, I'm going to be in the back waiting in case something happens. So just to see as they play more together, they get to know each other, how they kind of figure out how to play the team dynamics. I mean, it's just absolutely fascinating to watch.
That's brain power. That is really,
absolutely.
That is amazing. So I know we mentioned that the whole Big East announcement happened, but are there any other big events coming up with esports on St. John's University's campus?
We hope there will be. I can't really talk too much right now about what's coming, but there are some activities. One of the things that, again, what I was talking about a little bit earlier with trying to bring people together, there's a club on campus called the Otaku Brigade, and they're particularly interested in anime and some of these kinds of activities. So they actually had, for many years, a kind of informal group of players that kind of got together and gamed. So obviously, when we started developing all this, they were the first group that we went to. Okay, how many people are playing? What are they playing? How's it been so far? What do you need? Some of these kinds of things. So, one of the things that we're trying to do is trying to utilize, they've got a very well thought out structure. They've got a leadership group, president and vice president, just like a club would. Are they interested in hosting some events or working with us on some different kinds of events? Here in New York City, compared to some other places, there are some professional esports teams. Probably the most well-known is the Overwatch team, New York Excelsior. So, we're working on trying to create a close relationship with them and maybe seeing if we can do some things on campus. So, yeah, I mean, we have high hopes for events happening in the very near future.
That's excellent. So just speaking on when we were talking about athletics before, do you see a future where esports student athletes will receive the similar treatment to other athletes, such as scholarships? And not even just on a St. John's term, but in just a college term. Could this be critical to maintaining a winning team in the future?
Absolutely. So the point that I was trying to get out of my mouth earlier was stumbling over was about athletes being paid or athletes getting scholarships and some of these things. At this point, the NCAA has not made a determination on what esports status might be. We've been hoping that, as we've been, making this program with the Big East and then our partner ESL, that more guidelines would come out from them and we would know how to proceed with some of this. To give people a concrete example, in the past, there have been Division I football players who've had like YouTube channels, and they've been able to monetize those with advertising. Unfortunately, in some of these cases, that could be a paid benefit. That could make you a professional player. A booster could, set up a troll farm that would just keep getting you clicks and clicks and clicks and money. So the way that many esports athletes kind of participate in esports is through streaming their games. Some of the most famous players, Ninja, who plays Fortnite, some of the other players who play, they stream their games and they're able to monetize them. So in esports, if the esports players are doing those same kinds of activities, that would make them a paid player. So this is one of those issues where for the NCAA, having some guidelines from them on what would be helpful would absolutely be beneficial to all of us because again, we are a Division I university. We have a very robust athletics program. So, trying to do things in line with guidelines and rules that are out there is something that's obviously very important for us. So that's the first part of your question. The second part is scholarships. Can these athletes?
Yes.
So in 2014, Robert Morris University in Chicago, they were the first ones to start an esports program. Now they have figured out some mechanisms in order to fund scholarships for these types of athletes. many universities now, I think there's probably about 100 universities, give or take, in the United States. Many of them more NAIA universities. So some of the smaller schools that many of us may not be as familiar with, they've also been starting to create scholarship funds to fund this. So we are already seeing some of that. At least at St. John's, we are certainly not yet to that point. Moving forward, I think if we can get some good guidelines from the NCAA and know how to proceed with this, if we can show that this is a legitimate activity for people to participate in, which obviously I feel is true, that there's questions of, are people who play video games athletes? Are esports actually sports? I mean, there's even philosophical issues kind of involved in this. So I certainly believe moving forward, as we get more information and, as some of the medical research on, that video game players, their reaction time, their ability to, in their brains, see tendencies. So really to qualify them as they are an athlete. They have skills that very few other people have. When we get to some of these points, I think making these arguments that these esports players are athletes, that esports are sports, and that all of these activities should be supported in a similar way, I think that's a few years down the road, but I think it will eventually be coming.
Hopefully it's coming. So one last question. Is there any one thing that people cannot leave without having you here about esports or about St. John's esports in general?
That's a good question. One thing?
One thing, the most important thing.
I think the first thing is, if people have not yet connected with us, there was an email that went out to a large portion of the student body. Obviously now with between 300 and 400 students playing, I think you're going to be seeing more people who are talking about, hey, have you been to the Tech Commons? Have you been playing? We are forming, we have a Discord channel where many of these individuals are all kind of coming together. I think the most important thing right now is letting people know, we are doing our absolute best to try to support all of these different games, all of these different opportunities, and students who play these games. Even if we're not competing in them at an official Big East kind of level, we know students are playing these games. We want to connect one group of students to another group of students. When I was a little bit younger, I lived in Japan and Taiwan. And I learned at that point in time the importance of family and of community. And one of the things that I see in esports is a very similar kind of phenomenon, that we have an esports community, but if you all like a game, you almost become a family. And so there are a lot of these opportunities, I think, for different people, different groups to actually connect as a family. I'm not always sure that everyone at a university feels like they're fully connected to the university. And one of the things we certainly hope is that esports is going to do this, that the international students, the local students, maybe who are on our Rome campus or in Seville or in Paris, or who may be doing a study abroad or any of these programs, that they'll still be able to connect with people and that they'll still be able to play the games they love with other students on campus. So, I think the fact that we're able to build this kind of community and, hopefully it's only going to get bigger and better from here is really what I think the takeaway message would be.
Definitely. That's excellent. So you seem to have a lot of information and knowledge about the industry of esports. So how much do you actually know about video games? We're going to put you up to the challenge to a friendly game of video game or nonsense. I have some popular video games here, and you have to decide whether they're a real game or if it's just nonsense made by our producers. So you ready for this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I didn't study, so I'm ready.
No, these are good. So let's say World of Warcraft.
That's absolutely a game.
Correct. Mortal Kombat.
Absolutely a game.
Yes. Call of the Wind.
Not a game.
You are correct. Very nice. Mod Nation Racers.
Mod Nation?
Nation Racers.
A game.
Yes, it is. Red Snapper Trapper.
No, not a game.
You are correct. You're getting all these. Overwatch.
Definitely a game.
Definitely a game, okay. Agents of Doom.
Not a game.
Correct. Super Space Hijackers.
Ooh, this is a 50-50. Not a game.
Yes, correct. Skyrim.
Skyrim?
Skyrim.
A game.
Yes. Burger Time.
Not a game.
Nope, wrong. That's the
I
first
got one.
one.
Okay.
It's a game.
Burger time. We'll have to try to play
Yes,
it.
definitely. Rogue Assassin's Legacy.
A game.
Nonsense, not a game.
They probably pull. Okay.
Similar to something maybe?
Yes.
Super Mario Odyssey.
Odyssey. Super Mario is Odyssey. I don't know, so I'll say it's a game.
Yes, it is. And last but not least, Final Fantasy.
It is a game.
Correct. Wow, you did pretty
So,
good.
I got 2 wrong.
2 wrong. Well, thank you for playing.
My pleasure.
We'll be right back after this short commercial break for an intense game of Rocket League.
And that's gonna be my excuse when this thing looks like hot garbage.
I mean, all of the houses I've lived in have been haunted, so I'm just kind of like friends with them at this point.
Haunted Mansion is a very
Tastes like
underrated
plants.
movie. Where did you eat some?
Yeah, he is. Like, why would he follow the noise? The state.
White people.
Where? If that hits me. Monica!
Oh my gosh, Monica.
Happy Halloween!
Monica!
Your hair. Yeah, this is a commitment.
Welcome back, everyone. To wrap up our show, Dr. Hedlund and I are going to face off in a game of Rocket League.
Let's go.
Now, not to brag, I'm known to be kind of a fierce competitor, but I have never played Rocket League before. How are your skills?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a beginner as well, so I think this should be a fairly even match.
Well, then this is going to be a very interesting game, but are you ready to play?
Absolutely, let's go.
Alrighty, let's start this match. Alrighty. Ooh, I'm moving. Oh, there's the ball. I didn't realize that was the ball. Oh my goodness, okay. Where am I going? There we go.
Yep, so you just wanna try to line it up and kind of hit the ball.
Okay, ooh, okay, forward. There we go, there we go.
There you go.
Ooh,
Nice
no, that's
job.
my goal though, isn't it?
Yes, that's the goal you're
Wrong
defending.
goal, okay.
So-
Oop, now I'm back that
Yeah.
way.
So
Oh, that's my view, okay. Ooh. Oh, I'm not clicking that. Ooh, backwards. Oh, there we go. Up, 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 up. I think you're gonna score. Oh. There we go. Oh, no, I missed the ball. Backward. Oh, ooh.
oh, oh,
We got some action
That might
going
get in
on.
there. That might get in there. There it goes.
Let's see. Replay.
Yeah, you almost got there before I did. So just snuck that one past. If you were doing 3-on-3, that would definitely not have scored.
Alrighty. So I go forward now.
Yeah.
Ooh, and you hit it backwards. I want to go backwards. There we go. Forwards now. Up, up, up. I think another goal. Oh. Do I defend? Oh, another point scored. I know we have some TV club members who are definitely good at video games and Rocket League. There was a whole game going on in here earlier, so game in test and tips. All right. See, this part's easy. I just run straight into the ball. Oh, nope, I just jumped. There we go. Oop, I missed.
Go ahead.
Go back.
Go ahead.
Ooh, how do I do that? Why am I going forward? Oh, but what am I doing?
You know, I was talking during the interview
There
about
we
how
go.
important it is for like collaboration. So perhaps I can kind of like be on, like pass you the ball.
Okay, let's say. Oh, no. See, I'm going back. Okay.
Here, let me
So
see.
maybe I have to
Let me
pass
see where you
it,
are.
and now I'm going to go forwards with it. Let's say. I keep going up this ramp. That's my my issue. Oh wait, that's my view. Okay, back.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Go
Okay.
forward.
Oh, nope, nope.
Yep.
Oh, oh
up.
no,
Yep.
nope.
You can
Back.
go back, or you can go back around. Whatever. Yep.
Okay, I'm going for it.
Okay.
Oh, I
you missed it.
just missed it by an inch. Okay. Oh, is it just gonna go in on its own? Oh, I scored, but I really shouldn't have. All right.
That's almost like a slow motion goal there, right?
I know our producer, Jordon, in there, he's definitely shaking his head at all of this. Oh,
Could it be any worse?
Ooh, what did I just do?
Uh-oh, that's your
Did I
own
just-
goal.
Oh, that's my own? No, right? Aren't I blue?
No, actually, yeah, you might be right. So then you hit it off the post.
It was close. I promise I'm a lot better at real soccer. This is cool though with the cars. Like this concept is just.
Yeah, I mean, when the first time I watched some of our actual team members play, just watching some of the things that they could do as aerial players was just absolutely amazing.
Do you know the origins of how this game was, like the concept was created, or was it just kind of a?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know a whole lot about this thing. Hey, there you go.
I saw my opportunity. Yeah, because it's an interesting concept, and it's so digitally pleasing too, just the way the screen is.
I mean, it's been a lot of fun to introduce this game to people who've never played it before, and then to see what see what they think of it, and people who've never really played before, and then what it's like to play the game, and I don't know about playing 3v3. If I would be any good with having some extra players, but if you could find some ringers who could kind of help you along, they could.
Ooh, I just did something. Something. Oh, why is my car flipped over?
Uh-oh, you must have jumped.
Okay. Backwards. Oh, now I'm like in the goal.
Yeah, you're the goalkeeper.
Oh, this is so cool. I just can't even imagine like really being an expert at this and just knowing where your hands were going all the time.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I knocked it out. There.
Yeah, you did it with your back too. That was kind of nice.
All right, we have 1 minute remaining in this game, and it's tied, so someone's got to score. I don't think it's going to be me. Oh.
Oh, we crashed into each other. Oh, you crashed into me again.
Oh, I'm doing flips in there. I'm just doing tricks now. Oh my goodness. I just
Did you go up on the wall?
Yeah, I was trying to do a trick. Oh, here's your opportunity. All right, we're getting down. Oh, scored! We have 12 seconds left. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make a comeback, so let's see. All righty. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Winner!
Winner orange.
That was amazing. This game is so neat, really. I think I need to practice my skills a little
Fist
bit.
bump?
Yes, fist bump.
Good
So
job.
that was a great game, and thank you so much for. Oh, it's vibrating. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
My
we
pleasure.
really,
Happy
really
to be here.
appreciate it. That's all we have for our show. A special thanks, of course, to Dr. Hedlund and, of course, the one and only DJ Zach. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at WRED-TV. Until next time, I'm Missy Dunlop. Have a great afternoon, everyone.